Hello and welcome back, adventurers. Today we are going to jump into our second video, the middle portion, talking about form spells and if they're worth taking on your caster, and if they are, what we should actually take. Before we get too deep, I really want to emphasize that these are not worth taking, again, if you are not a full spellcaster, right? So if you're taking an archetype, or you've got, I don't know, some ancestry feat where you could take a form spell somehow, or it's really not worth it to take form spells other than as a full caster with full spell progression. To be worth using a form spell, almost always needs to be used with the highest rank spell slot that you have available, or else the numbers just don't keep up. Now, there are reasons, and we ran into some of this last time, like aerial form. If you just needed to be able to fly, great. Elemental form, same idea. If you just needed a great fly speed, there might be another reason, burrow speed, swim speed, something like that. You could take a lower form spell. You just don't want to actually do any combat in that form. And considering they only last for 1 minute, except for pest form, that is pretty questionable, but it's an option at least. Last time, we left off talking about our rank 5 spells, so let's go ahead and kick off with rank 6 form spells. And if you haven't watched part 1, you really should watch that before watching this, because this will be very confusing if you have not watched part 1. So, highly recommend you stop, go watch that. I'll wait. Okay, so if you didn't give up on that and actually watched it, thank you, and hopefully this will make a lot more sense. So great, we're assuming you watched part 1, jumping right in here. What form are we starting with? Why, none other than Dragon Form. Dragon Form is a rank 6 spell for all spell traditions. This is not something we see. All spell traditions is a big deal. So fantastic right off the bat. We have finally one for Divine, but we have it for everybody. And yes, there is a feat for Untamed druids to take so that they can shift into it with Untamed form, which is fantastic also. You get to transform into any type of dragon. Now, in the spell, it lists at least a bunch of the types, if not all of them. I don't know that it's got all the new dragons from the most recent dragon-focused book, but most things are in here. I recommend choosing one, though, that matches your spellcasting tradition, because keep in mind, dragons are tied to traditions now. We'll get into why I think that's a good choice in a second here, but we are large. You're going to get 10 temporary hit points, which at this rank is not a lot, so that's a little bit sad, but okay. And even worse, we actually only get an AC of 18 plus our level, which at this point we should be past that. We should be at 21 plus our level, but it's at least something. And it's still okay, but again, I'll get into why I think it's still okay. We do get a plus 22 to hit with our strikes, which is fantastic. But what I really love are the other features that come with this, right? Mostly what we've seen until now is melee only forms, some with greater reach. Sometimes you have flight forms. They don't get a lot of different features. Here we do get some cool features. First, we get the truly crazy 100-foot fly speed. So we are beyond even what we got with elemental form with a flight speed of 80. And then depending on the form you choose, you might also get a swim, climb, or burrow speed as well, which can be helpful. Then you're going to get resistance 10. Again, depending on the type you choose, it's tied to the breath weapon. So if your breath weapon does spirit damage, you're going to get spirit resistance. If it does fire damage, you're going to get fire resistance. Cool. That can be really helpful and could be a reason you transform into the form. Get yourself some resistance on top. Dragons all get the same attacks, which do fine damage, but it's really nothing like spectacular and does fall behind some of the other forms that are available at this rank when you heighten them, but it's not far behind. They're still good. Importantly, though, you get a breath weapon, and this is where things really get different for you, right? They really change versus our other forms. We get a 10d6 line or cone breath weapon that we can use once every 1d4 rounds. This goes against different basic saves depending on the dragon form, but always uses your spell DC, which of course is the best possible DC to use, right? This is ideal. This makes it better than a martial with any kind of AoE, even if they had the numbers, because they've used a worse DC than you have. That amount, by the way, isn't quite like heightened fireball for the rank. That would be 12d6, but it's really not far off, right? Only 2d6 behind, and we get to just do it as 2 actions while we're a dragon, which is awesome. And we still aren't done, because if you choose a dragon that matched your spell tradition, which is why I mentioned it, you get a special buff. So if you're an arcane caster with an arcane form, you get resist 5 to damage from spells. Divine is resist 10 to spirit, vitality, and void damage. It's a lot of types. Primal, you get resist 5 to all physical damage, straight up. No rider that says except adamantine, just all physical damage. And Occult is resist 10 to mental. Sadly, only one thing, but mental definitely comes up. I do feel like, though, Primal and Divine are our winners in that group. And if you take Divine and you have a Divine Dragon that has a breath weapon that doesn't do one of those three, because there are Divine options, like you can go Diabolic and have Fire, then you're going to get resistance to Fire, Vitality, Void, and Spirit, and that is covering like your major damaging types coming at you, which is awesome. We do have a heighten for this at 8th rank, where our AC becomes a now tolerable at least 21 plus level. I would have liked 22, but 21 is still good, helping to reduce that AC gap. Our plus 2 attack becomes 28, which is what we've seen for other heightened to 8th rank stuff, so good, that's the standard. And we gain more temp HP, and for some reason even get another 20-foot boost to our fly speed, because why not? 100 wasn't enough apparently, let's do 120. And we get more reach on our attacks, which is also really helpful. Our attack damage catches up, and our breath weapon even becomes another 4d6 higher, so we're at 14d6 on our breath weapon, which is fantastic. So the heightened version is absolutely worth taking. Overall, Dragon Form has utility, versatility, AoE damage, decent straight-up martial capability with its single target damage, making it, in my mind, the single strongest form. Yes, you take a hit in your AC, but I really think that's worth it for everything else you get in this package. Moving beyond Dragon Form, we have an interesting situation. There are 3 pre-master forms, Demon, Devil, and Daemon, that are available to Divine and Arcane casters, have no heighten, and are very similar in options, except the numbers change slightly between. So some are more attack focused, some are more defensive, and then there's the in-between one. So I'll go through them a little more quickly. Remember, no heightens here, so if you're taking them, you're just taking for this one level. First, we have Demon Form. This is our offensive option, so AC is only 20 plus level, still better than Dragon here, but you can't fly like you can like a dragon. And then you get a plus 22 to your attack modifier, which, you know, is good. You get slightly low damage for the spell rank, so at this point, you're getting 22.5. We're seeing like 26, 28 out of other classes, so definitely on the lower side. Even Dragon is better at this point. On top, you would have solid temp HP of 30, which is feeling pretty good, but you do have 5 weakness to Cold Iron and Holy damage. There aren't any special movement speed options, just normal land speed, but you do have Dark Vision, so that's not really anything special, and that's it. So really nothing worth writing home about here, and by the way, you're still just medium, and yeah. There are reach options, though, for your attack, so that's something. Not too different is Daemon Form, which is an AC of 21 plus level, which is kind of more standard. An attack mod of 21. See, we're going to land in the middle. You know where we're going to go with the next one. 15 temporary hit points, but a weakness only to holy damage. You do get a +2 to saves against death effects, though that may not matter much, as well as resist 10 to poison damage, which could definitely come up. Our average damage is, again, not great at like 23, I think, on this one, but we are large, and almost every form has a reach attack. We even get some flying options here, which is great, but again, that's it. It's been underwhelming, and it's not like those fly speeds or anything like the fly speeds we've seen before. Finally, we have Devil Form. This is the defensive one, obviously. It has the AC of 22 plus level, boosting us nicely up here, but only +20 to attack, boo, which is pretty terrible. Honestly, that's bad for the level. This is the lowest average damage per hit, by the way, at only 21. We do get 5 whole temporary hit points. That's just pathetic at this rank. That's really sad. We have a few different speeds available, including flying and climbing, though the speeds themselves aren't anything special, like they're not huge numbers. And like the other, with no heighten and no other features, that's really about it. I doubt I would take any of these forms, honestly, especially sharing a rank with Dragon Form, which is available to everybody, but maybe you have a good reason for taking one of these. I don't know. We do have one final rank 6 form. Yeah, this is like the form heavy level, and it's Sacred Form. This is for Divine only. Shocking, I know. And does have an 8th rank heighten, which is nice. You are basically just you, but with Divine armaments. You stay your size, you gain 10 temporary hit points, you get a decent AC, but it's not good at only 20 plus your level, a decent attack with 21, which is kind of the average for the level, and your damage entirely relies on your deity's favored weapon, assuming you have a deity. With no deity or not using its weapon, you're looking at a frankly low 22 damage per hit. Besides that, you get a 40-foot move speed, but no other speeds. You get resist 3 to all physical damage, and you're done. Not very exciting, but there are some benefits here, and if you are using your deity's favored weapon, this does increase the damage you can output. So keep that in mind. That can be really solid, and you probably have a deity being divine. It's hard to say. When we heighten this to rank 8, though, your AC hits 21 plus your level, pretty standard. Your attack is now standard plus 28. You get 15 temporary hit points, 1 added resist, that 3 you already had, become large, and get some reach added to your melee attacks, and all of this is fine, but it doesn't blow me away. Like, it's good, but it's not amazing. The question I find I need to ask is, why take this when you could just have Divine Dragon form, be able to fly, spirit damage, or some other breath weapon? But it does have a better AC, I suppose, at rank 6 if you want to use it for rank 6. I think we need to get away from rank 6, though, and finally move on. At rank 7, we only have 2 form spells, so to reduce ourselves down. Don't worry, this will actually go faster as we go. We start with Angel form. This is for Divine Caster. See all the Divine stuff packed on the back side here. And once again, we get a Pre-Master form, but this one does have a heighten. Your size is actually medium or small here. You have a good AC, really solid, plus 22 plus level. A solid 40 temporary hit points, which is great. With weakness 10 to unholy damage, boo, so just be careful when you use it. Dark vision, which everything has now. A solid plus 25 to attack, which for rank 7, keep in mind, is good, right? 28 is for rank 8. So you're matching Dino form, you're keeping up with near martials, you're slightly behind full martials, but all that's pretty good. All of our forms have fly speeds. Not dragon like crazy fly speeds, but fly speeds. So 60 feet is pretty solid. The average damage on hit here is not good, but it's not awful. It's 26. It's okay. A few forms have ranged attacks, but none of the melee attacks across any forms have reach, so I would like to have some reach personally. The forms do have small features built in, try to differentiate them from one to another, but they generally aren't anything that makes one clearly better than the rest. They're just okay. When we heighten this to 9th rank, we get to finally become large. We get more temporary hit points, but a worse weakness. So again, be careful of the unholy. We have a plus 30 to attack, but that still puts us behind all martials slightly, sadly. At least we get a solid increase to our damage here. I feel like this has more reason to exist than Sacred Form did, and I might even consider it for the flight or one of the few buffs and various options of creatures, but I honestly don't know if it's worth the investment, but it's definitely worth a look at this heightened rank. The only other rank 7 form is Cosmic Form. This is a Divine and Primal Pre-Master form with no feat for Untamed druids. You are large with a decent 21 plus level AC with 20 temporary hit points, okay, and the standard Dark Vision. You get plus 25 to your attack, just like we saw with the other at this rank, and you get a pull 2 options for the form. Hooray! Though both can fly a respectable 50 feet. The damage, however, is insultingly low. It can trigger various weaknesses, which certainly helps, and they have effects on crit, but your plus to hit isn't really that great, so maybe 5 to 10% chance of critting the average, even level creature. I don't like. Probably use this if you're going to fight lower level creatures, I guess. And then there's no heighten. So it's just not that good, and just stays not that good. I wouldn't really think about it. Well, rank 7 was a little disappointing. How about rank 8? We have 1 rank 8 form. That is it. Monstrosity form. This is for Arcane and Primal casters, and it does have a 9th rank heighten as well as an Untamed druid feat. We are automatically huge with 3 options to choose from, all of which are very awesome beasts with a less than amazing 20 plus level AC, sadly. We do get 20 temporary hit points, okay, and of course Dark Vision, which we always have now. Our plus to hit is 28, which is what we'd expect from all the heightened forms getting up to this rank. So that's good. We aren't falling behind here. The movement speeds vary wildly, but are meant for the different purposes. The best damage for any of the forms here is solid. Not crazy, but solid at 31 damage per hit on average. It's the extra features that each form has that you're really probably here for. Whether it's the immunity from difficult terrain and recovery from immobilizing effects of the worm, the burning aura and flight of the phoenix, or the water superiority and movement and damage and stuff from the serpent. None of these effects are going to just straight up end in a counter, but the flexibility is, again, the big strength. It fits whatever you need to fit: ground, flight, swimming. But the question is, are these better than what you can do with dragon form at this rank? And oh boy, that's a really hard question. I don't personally think they are. Potentially could be, but I don't think they are. However, at rank 9, you do get an AC boost. Remember, it has a heightened rank 9. We're at 22 plus level with a plus 31 to attack, which actually puts them on par with martials at level 17, which is good. A decent damage increase, taking the average to 37.5 damage per hit, and a few more temp HP. Honestly, it's a pretty solid rank 9 heighten, and it feels pretty good at this rank. And again, the forms are cool, so you get all of that coming with these really nice number boosts. And this brings us to our final 3 form spells. None of them are at rank 9. There are no rank 9 form spells. No, we are at rank 10. And at rank 10, we have some very interesting choices, starting with Nature Incarnate. This is a primal spell. No associated Untamed druid feat. No surprise, because we're rank 10. It'd be very weird. You either become a 30 by 30 gargantuan creature. Remember, gargantuan's not normally 30 by 30, but this one is. So this is like the silliest thing you can become in the game, which is awesome. Or you can stay medium with your other choice here. Both forms have interesting options, but they share some things in common. First of all, their AC is 25 plus your level, which is on par with plenty of martials. It's not plate level, but it's really good. You get 30 temporary hit points. Awesome. Dark vision, duh. And an attack modifier of plus 34, which at level 19 is almost fighter level. And at level 20 matches your average martial. The features vary substantially between forms. With the Kaiju, you are able to hit harder, 43 on a hit, which is really good with your jaws, with an insane 30-foot reach, by the way. So remember how big you are with a 30-foot reach. This is silly. You have high movement speed at 50 feet, it's just ground speed. And you even get a trample activity, which is really cool. It deals damage to everything in your path when you're moving. Great. And of course, difficult terrain means absolutely nothing to you because you just crush it beneath your foot. As for the green man option, you get an aura that can make enemies clumsy, a solid ranged attack, and then you still have 30-foot reach with your melee attack, so you're not losing that crazy reach. You are medium though. And you get a climb speed. All of this is cool, not like becoming Kaiju cool, but obviously really cool. There is no heighten. How could there be? It's rank 10. Anyway, that's pretty cool. All this together makes this a really interesting form. And the only thing you're really losing versus some other forms is you have no flight option here. So let's move away from the primal option to get to Avatar. This is very similar to our last spell, Nature Incarnate. This is for Divine casters though. Yep, Divine may have started slow, but they've really picked up in the back half. There are, and I may have miscounted, so forgive me, currently, as recording this, I think, 179 different forms on Archives of Nethys. Yeah. This is way beyond too many options. The forms are tied to deities, though, which is why there are so many. So, makes sense. You've got a deity, find their form. So, when you use this, you turn into the avatar of your deity. You become huge, have an AC of 25 plus level, just like Nature Incarnate. You have dark vision, of course. You get those 30 temporary hit points, Nature Incarnate. You do get a slightly lower plus 33 to attack instead of plus 34. I don't know why. Whatever, but fine, I guess. There is no way I was going to read the details of each option. I have not done that because I value my time more than that. I apologize. But do know that the damage is good. It varies, but it is good, as does the reach of things, as does the range of ranged attacks. There's a lot of variance, but they're generally pretty decent. The damage seemed to be mostly in line with the Green Man, which is slightly lower than the Kaiju option. but that may not be strictly true. I may have missed some really powerful options. I don't know. There are very solid choices in here, though. There are even special options that exist for the Animist itself, depending on the primary spirit using, and those forms are very fun. If you looked at Animist, watched my video, you'll know about this. And just like Nature Incarnate, this is just a solid choice for a polymorph. I would absolutely consider this as a divine caster at that 10th rank. And that brings us to our absolute final form, Element Embodied. This is, once again, Primal only. Feels like since all the other elemental stuff was also Arcane, this could have been Arcane, but there you go. You are Gargantuan here. Standard Gargantuan, mind you, not Kaiju Gargantuan. You choose which of 6 elements to embody. Regardless, you have an AC of 25 plus level, 30 temporary hit points, dark vision. You get that plus 34 to attack back, which is cool. So all of this just matching Kaiju form. In this case, half the forms use dexterity for attacks and half use strength. As for the melee strikes provided by the forms, we're usually looking at about 34.5 points of damage per hit with a 25-foot reach, which is definitely worse than we saw with Kaiju, and it's actually worse than we see with like Green Man or Avatar on average that I've seen. What we do have are other interesting features. We have 2 forms that fly, one that swims, one that climbs, one that burrows. They all have ranged attacks, although it's fairly low damage, but you'd expect that with ranged attacks. And then you've got your melee attacks, and then they all have auras. The auras and movement are likely what you're here for. They are interesting options. I just wish that this was Arcane as well as Primal. As it stands, I still prefer Nature Incarnate. Honestly, like, yes, you could fly here. As a Kaiju, I'm 30 by 30, which means also tall, and I have a 30-foot reach. There's not many things, even that flying, that I'm not going to hit. So, I don't know. I guess I'd rather just be Godzilla than one of the elemental forms, even though I really love the idea of these massive elemental forms. And yeah, and now we've looked at these higher ranked form spells, I see even more reason to consider them. It was also a lot to take in. I know there's a lot of details in here, so I wanted to offer up some help if you felt like all of this made you want to try them. I will walk through some charts here for each of the spell traditions with my recommendations on what form spells, if any, to have ready depending on what level your caster is. As we dive in, I'll explain a little more, but generally speaking, I will suggest again that you mostly only use your highest spell slots for form spells, or the number just won't add up, right? Your plus to hit, your AC, they just aren't going to work out as well as you want it to if you don't use that highest rank only in most cases. So on screen here, you can see the chart and how I'm going to be doing this. Up first, we have Arcane. As you can see, I recommend the insect form at rank 3. This is the first rank at which a battle form is available to Arcane casters. Starting at rank 4, I would drop insect form and grab dinosaur form. Notice I have 2 forms listed. This is because, like both options, but the star gets my vote if you're only going to take one. So they're both reasonable, but the star is what I think is the better of the 2. Aerial form is a solid backup here, and if you just want flight, take this. This will give you that flight. Up at 5th rank, I would go elemental form, but dino form heightened to rank 5 is a solid pick too. Remember, size, reach, all that good stuff. As we move to 6th rank, it is an easy call for me. Just go dragon. Just go dragon. I think dragon's just easily better. There are great arcane dragon choices, but only worry about specifically choosing an arcane dragon if you are fighting spellcasters, because your form has resistance to spell damage. As we rank up to 7, I would use my 7th rank slot for heightened elemental form, as the numbers will be scaled properly, right? Dragon form doesn't have a 6th, or it doesn't have a 7th rank, so the 6th rank dragon form will actually going to fall behind 7th rank elemental form, although you still have that AoE breath weapon. So that's why I like to have it as a backup, and dragon form is one of the few I would say it's okay to cast with a lower rank slot, because you still have that breath weapon and crazy flight. At 8th rank, dragon is again an easy call, and I even recommend always keeping an 8th rank slot at all times available for it if you're going to want to change it all, for the flight and the breath weapon that you get with it. But at 9th rank, heightened monstrosity form is honestly the way to go for the average combat. Once you hit level 19, just keep that 8th rank dragon around. Don't try to keep up with actual melee combat. Sadly, there's just no 10th rank option for combat for arcane casters, which is disappointing. So it is what it is. I don't know. I wish that element embodied was option for Arcane at this rank. I will try to speed this up a little bit as we get through the next traditions. I just needed to expand a little bit in my forms here. So Divine has nothing until rank 6, so we're just going to show rank 6 and on. Then, surprise, surprise, it is Dragon form. Some notes here about Dragon and why I keep it at various ranks. I know we've talked about it a little bit last time too. Keeping a consistent flight option that even has an AoE breath option. You can stay away from combat, still drop in damage from above, makes it really hard to hurt you even with a lower AC and not a ton of temporary hit points. I just think it can be a nice option while you've got some spells on the ground already doing something, right? Or buffing your allies, controlling the battlefield, whatever. Fly away, breathe down on the enemies. If you want to get in and fight, you can, but that's why I like it. Anyway, Angelic is not bad for bridging the gap at 7th rank, so I do recommend it here. At 8th, it's back to Dragon though, no surprise, with the back and forth ongoing at 9th, with Angelic form getting a solid heighten at 9th rank. And finally, absolutely take Avatar. It's awesome, and you will find a form you like, I promise. With Occult casters, we can start at 3rd rank, which is cool, with Ooze form. Even if I don't love that form, it's a form you can do as an Occult caster. It's worth switching to Fae form, though, at 4th rank. And at 5th rank, we get a solid upgrade to Aberrant form, which I actually really like. But from rank 6 on, it's just Dragon form. It means 7th rank, you'll probably not want to use Polymorph as your main strategy in combat, because Dragon form does fall a little bit behind for getting into melee, but it's still good. And then, of course, once you hit the 8th rank, great, take it again, you're going to feel amazing. And after 8th rank, well, it doesn't get any higher, so you're stuck with 8th rank. Again, it probably stops being something you get into martial combat with. And we are going to finish off with Primal, which has the most to say, and boy, what a finish this is. Start with Animal form at rank 2 and use the heightened version at rank 3. I suggest jumping to Dinosaur at rank 4 and Elemental at 5th, just like with Arcane. And in fact, we are going to follow the Arcane setup all the way until level 19 with 10th rank spells, where I suggest Nature Incarnate. Though Element Embodied is also a really good choice, so it could be a tough call for you. So honestly, it doesn't look crazy, or at least not crazy different from our Arcane, except for when we finally get to our last chart. You thought Primal was the end, it's not. Our final chart is for Untamed druids, or any druid that took Untamed form, because they have a special build here. Notice that the first item in our list is in parentheses. This is a feat that I think is an extremely strong, near necessary choice as you level up. The first of those feats that is so strong and is available at level 4 is Form Control. This is a spell shape for the focus spell Untamed form itself that lets you remain in a form for an hour, but you have to cast the form 2 ranks lower than usual. Obviously for combat, terrible idea. This is absolutely crazy though with flying forms once possible. If you can downcast, to aerial form, you can fly really far for an hour, and that can be completely messing with anything that's set up to cause you difficulty out in the world, which is fantastic. So just keep that in mind. I do think that's very strong. In this case, you don't need to take an actual form spell until level 7 here, aerial form, and you only need that for 1 level, because then you take Soaring Shape, and you no longer have to prepare the actual form spell itself anymore as part of Untamed form. We do this again with Elemental form at level 9, taking Elemental Shape at 10. At 11, we grab Dragon form for a level before taking Dragon Shape at 12, and at this point, I wouldn't worry about grabbing an actual form spell again until Nature Incarnate at level 19. Just make sure that you do take Monstrosity shape at level 16. Finally, at level 20, I highly recommend that you take the feat True Shapeshifter, which lets you become the Kaiju from Nature Incarnate once per day, and also gives you the 2-action activity True Shapeshift. This is 2 actions. While under the effects of the Untamed form spell, you can change to any other shape available in Untamed form, which is why we took so many feats to get us so many forms, but you don't need to refresh the remaining duration, or you don't get to, I should say. I feel like this does imply that you get the temporary hit points every time you switch, because they didn't mention that as something you don't get. I felt it was important to say because that's pretty crazy if you're getting those, because every single turn, switching shape and getting, new temp HP is actually really, really strong, even if you're doing lower level shapes. Keep in mind, this isn't going to work with nature incarnate. This is with like your 9th and 8th rank shapes. But between monstrosity and dragon, that's probably worth a thought. And there we go. So are these polymorph form spells any good? I think we've seen they can be really good. I think I'm going to go ahead and follow this up with a video about how to actually build and then play such a character to help those really interested, because there are things to keep in mind, little nuances, and I think seeing it in action would help. Until then, though, check out these form spells for yourself, and hey, give them a spin. And as always, adventure on.